Welcome to the Factory Ops Exchange podcast, hosted by the U.S. Center for Advanced Manufacturing and by Guidewheel. I'm Lauren Dunford, CEO and co-founder of Guidewheel, and today I'm joined by Max Perilstein, one of the most respected voices in the glass industry. Max has spent more than 3 decades in glass and glazing and runs the fantastic From the Fabricator blog and podcast. Max and I talk about the early experiences that shaped how he leads, the realities of culture and capacity when a business grows fast. He shares an amazing story about that, and the tension between family ownership and private equity, specifically in this industry. He also shares some great tips on how automation and diversification can be especially valuable in glass. Let's dive in. Amazing. Well, Max, I am so excited for this. I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
Looking forward to it as well. Big fan of yours, big fan of the company, and I just love to chop things up and get caught up on a bunch of different things. So I'm excited about this.
Amazing. Well, same. So maybe just to start, can you share a little bit about how you got into manufacturing and operations? Any memories from those early days, stories that come to mind?
Yes. So basically, I mean, I didn't want to be in anywhere in any sort of business.
Yes.
I wanted to be in sports production, television production, radio.
Yeah.
Had no desire, and it was my brother who convinced me to come on over, quote unquote, to the dark side, into the family business. Into what we had going on in outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, way back in 1991, and I picked it up right away,
Yeah.
loved it, and it kind of took off from there. But it was definitely not in the plans coming
Yes.
out of the gate. And it's been a great experience since '91. I've done a lot of things, worked with a lot of different people. So I've had a heck of a career, and obviously I still have some time left in it, but it's been great.
Yeah. And, for anyone who doesn't follow, though, I think they should, you are one of the just best and experts in the glass industry. What's happening, how people are thinking about technology, business, etc. And what are the things that have shaped your perspective as you look at that?
Well, part of it is the time. I mean, I do love
Yeah.
the industry. The glass industry is my world.
Yes.
And I started a blog in 2005,
Yeah.
and I've done it ever since. Just celebrated the 20th anniversary, and added a podcast in 2021, which I was lucky enough to have you on a few months back. But because of that, I have to pay attention to everything that goes on in the industry.
Yep.
And I love it. I can't get enough of it. I do think that we've come a long way as an industry. It's interesting, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it. The industry right now, and on my side of the world, is broken up into two camps: those that are
Mm.
owned by family businesses and those that are owned by private equity.
Yep.
And obviously, you can't probably get any more different of
Yeah.
attitudes than a family business and a private equity owned business. So
Yes.
that's been pretty interesting to see how that whole process is going. And you have to be on your toes. And
Yeah.
we're growing as an industry, but there's definitely things that I'm sure we're going to cover today that
Yeah.
we got to get better at. Got to
Yes.
get better at. We are a little bit in the dark ages in the glass world, and I hope that is changing.
Yeah, yeah, love it. Well, staying for a little bit in the early days that shaped you, any early challenges or failures or things where there's an example of something that really shaped how you lead?
It's funny when I was
Yeah.
thinking about this, and there was a time early on in my career, we
Mm,
got really busy,
yes.
uh, busier than we ever imagined. And it was also during a time where my brother, who was running the company, he had accidentally broken his neck. He
Oh,
broke his neck stretching in the morning. He got up and he did the stretch, and his
oh,
neck snapped. So
oof.
he was out. Bed. He had the whole thing with the halo, and he had to stay home, and
Wow.
he wasn't with us, and I wasn't the leader at that point by any sense of
Yeah,
imagination. We were all kind of a team, but we got incredibly busy.
yeah.
We went from a 3-day lead time for our standard product out to 11 weeks. And
Wow.
it was almost like overnight. We
Yeah.
got just swamped, and he's not there. Customers are calling him at home while he's laid up
Mm,
saying, "What is going on at your company?" He's calling me saying, "What are you doing?"
yeah.
And the key of this whole thing is we had a plant manager who was a really good, leader, good guy. But when we went and got that busy, he
Mm,
kind of snapped. He
yeah.
went and hid on our mezzanine
Yeah.
where all of our supplies were.
Yeah.
And he was trying to come up with ideas to try to fix this, but he had
Yes.
lost it. And at that point, it dawned on me and it dawned on all of us that we're now not this little family business anymore. We have to have
Right.
systems. We have to have approaches. We've
Yeah.
got to do it better. And from that day on, we changed, and I
Yeah.
changed. I realized that you A, can't do it all by yourself,
Yes.
and B, you have to be as organized as humanly possible, and then refocus on that
Yeah.
again. The blocking and tackling
Yeah.
aspect. That's no lie. I mean, and
Yeah.
I think we were completely unprepared. But
Yeah.
I'll never go back to those days. No matter the size of the business that I'm in or consulting with or working with, the organization, the blocking and tackling come first.
Yes.
Whether they're doing, 2 SKUs a day or a
Hmm.
billion, it doesn't matter. You got to have that fundamental. So that was a heck of a time, and I could still see the poor plant manager. He was just
Oh,
completely. What do? You go
yeah.
from a lead time overnight, basically.
Yes.
It was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. So a good learning experience for sure. And that
Yeah.
was, 1992, 93.
Yeah.
So a
Yeah.
long time.
Oh my gosh. I just can only imagine how stressful that must have been. And it, like, what a story straight out of the goal, too. The gold
Yeah.
rats.
Yeah. And I mean, can you
Yeah.
imagine, your company going from, what you're
Oh,
doing right now
yeah.
to 11 weeks
Yeah.
or 3 months to produce
Yes.
it? I mean, but I have a feeling you are organized enough where you'd be able to handle that immediate growth. We had no idea.
What did you do? How did you approach it? Because I mean, yeah, that's no small thing to turn around.
We actually had to kind of shut down,
Yeah.
for a few days because we didn't really know where anything was. It
Yes.
had gotten just completely out of control. We
Yeah.
did bring in a consultant
Yep.
that one of our suppliers recommended, and he was a huge help. But we had to kind of catch our breath and figure out, okay, where are we at? What do we
Yeah.
got going on here? What's our best way of approaching it? We had to
Yes.
make a lot of phone calls to customers and really say, okay, here's where we're at,
Yeah.
and be proactive and communicate. And
Yep.
it took us, probably a month and a half to dig out of it. But
Yeah.
once we did, we rolled from there on out, and
Yes.
we never had a
Yes.
situation where, we got busier, and sometimes our lead times would slip out 3 days to 5 days, but
Yeah.
never anything like 3 days to 11 weeks.
Yeah. What shapes how you think about everything afterwards.
Yeah.
Experience. Yeah.
It was, and it just also
Yeah.
shows that sometimes you do have to take a step back. A
Yes.
lot of companies, would probably, want to punch me if I said you need to shut down and we need to take a look at this.
Yeah.
We got to figure out what's going on here,
Yes.
and a lot of companies wouldn't do that. But that was one thing I think really turned out for us is that we had to take a look at
Yeah.
everything and figure out what is the best way, and really put those systems in place as
Yep.
fast as we could.
Yeah. Absolutely. Any early mentors, folks you learned from? How did you kind of learn and get shaped as the leader you are now?
I've been lucky.
Yeah.
I've been really lucky. I mean, with my dad was in the business. His favorite word was patience,
Mm.
uh, which somehow I have none of. But
Yep.
it didn't come to me. Maybe it's in my kids, but it skipped me.
Yeah.
But it sunk in though. I mean, nothing ever moves as fast as you want it to. You got to be patient. You got to really kind of think things through. He was a very deliberate person,
Yeah.
very quiet. So again, opposite of me because I don't shut up. And he just always kind of had that calming influence. My brother was huge. He was just an
Yeah.
amazing salesperson. I mean,
Yeah.
even laid up way back when, he probably still could have sold from his bed like no one
Wow.
else. So, but a great leader, great influence. And then I had people within the industry as I grew,
Yeah.
and got to meet different people throughout the glass and glazing industry. I was kind of like a sponge.
Mm.
Anybody I could connect with, I would, and learn things from. We have a mutual friend, Joe Bruce,
Yes.
who introduced me to continuous improvement. Had
Mm.
never really heard that term before.
Yeah.
And he walked into a plant that I had just taken over, and
Yeah.
he looked around. He said, "You need some continuous improvement." He
Yes.
liked certain things, but he pointed other things out. And so he became a mentor. He became somebody that I've leaned on. And that was, I met him in 1999, and
Wow.
I still, keep in touch with him to this day. And he's been a great mentor. So people like that have done wonders for me, and I live for any sort of morsel that they'll share with me, and then I try to pass it on. I feel like I have a lot of people who reach out to me, and I share whatever wisdom I've been able to get with them.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, love it. And Joe is such an amazing teacher too.
Yeah. Brilliant,
Um,
brilliant man. Brilliant man.
yeah, completely. When you talk with young people today, or if you could think about a young Max, what would be the advice you would give? Would you take the same path? Would you make, yeah, what would you maybe do differently, if anything?
Well, personally for me, I wish I would have not been into wanting to do sports production. I wish,
Yeah.
now looking back, I wish that I went into this right away. My brother, was in it. I
Mhm.
always joke that he started when he was 4 years old. He lived for the glass industry.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be in it, and there are various reasons. I'm 10 years younger than my brother, and sister
Yeah.
was in the business, and
Yeah.
but now I look back and I'm like, I lost out on 45 years that I could
Yes.
have gotten even a further head start of being in the business.
Yeah.
I mean, it obviously worked out, but I wish I would have got into it right away. And the one thing I tell young folks is that you know, don't fall for the businesses that might have the bigger shine to them.
Yes.
There are people that I run into that would rather work in a mailroom for a big accounting firm than come to a business like the glass and glazing industry.
Yeah.
And in our world, there's so much upward mobility. There's so much to learn.
Yes.
And we are a kind of a skewing older industry, so younger folks really have an opportunity. And I stress that don't
Yeah.
fall for the shiny object.
Yes.
Take a look at what is out there because it could really change you, really make a difference. And you don't have to be. We love folks that like to get out in the field or in
Yep.
the shop and work on machinery, but if that's not your cake, there's other things that you could do. We need
Yes.
the people. Don't discount us. And
Yeah.
some people go for it. Some people, find out the hard way, and they,
Yeah.
they go to these other folks and then maybe come to us. But it's a continuing battle
Yes.
for us as an industry. But I keep pushing as hard as
Yeah.
I can to look at things beyond its initial image.
Yeah, completely. Such an area of personal passion too. Young people just, there's such opportunity in manufacturing and, making real things and
Yeah.
opportunities
But
to grow and lead. And yeah.
But Lauren, I mean, if you look at it, if they go out with their friends
Yep.
and they say I work at XYZ glass company,
Yeah.
it's not sexy.
Yeah.
It's not sexy when they could say, well, I work on Wall Street at such and such
Yeah.
a firm. Well, they could be picking up the garbage in that firm. I
Yeah.
mean, and making nothing, but it's sexier to them.
Yeah. I
We
want to
gotta we
change
gotta
this
change.
so bad.
We gotta change that.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely. Um, maybe hard things because the nice thing also is this is an industry where it's so fulfilling. There's so many great things. And if you like solving challenges, there are real challenges in
Yes.
every way, shape, or form. Any kind of hard trade-offs that you remember having to make, kind of ways the org evolved in those early days?
Well, it's funny. I know that we're talking about
Yeah.
machinery and operations, but the biggest was culture, trying to
Yes.
get the culture right.
Yes.
Um, and because it's funny, it wasn't until several years later I heard the term culture over compensation, that
Yeah.
people would rather work in a good culture than be paid higher and in a toxic workplace.
Yes.
And for us, we always felt that we had a good culture, but we
Mhm.
needed to grow it. And it had to be more than signs on a wall.
Yes.
You had to really own it, and that was tough.
Yeah.
That was hard because there are things we thought we were doing right, we weren't doing them right. And I
Yeah.
have clients that I've worked with that thought for sure that they were doing it right with their training and their approaches and the safety programs, and you win a jacket and things like that if you stay
Mhm.
safe X amount of days. But some of that was just talking the talk and not walking the walk. And
Yeah.
that's the hardest part is you have to just live it and go through it
Yes.
and really be into the culture because we're talking about attracting younger people.
Yep.
They really are looking at culture more than
Yeah.
anything. They want to work at a place where they like everything about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything that comes to mind as examples of things you did right? And then I'll ask also about things that weren't so right, but as specific as you can make it, because I think this is something every organization struggles with, no matter how small, no matter how big. And yeah, it's such an important topic.
I think, I mean, we jumped in at advanced machinery as fast as we could,
Yes.
uh, even when we probably couldn't afford it.
Yes.
And I think that that's a big issue, at least in our industry. People, I call it step over dollars for dimes.
Yes.
They could put in advanced machinery, but they look at the initial price tag and they say, well, I'll put in this piece and I'll just find 10 people to run it instead of
Yeah.
the higher level piece that takes two people to run it and is
Yeah.
better in the long run.
Yeah.
We did that. We
Yeah.
jumped as fast as we could as things were coming out.
Yep.
Buying machinery from Finland, buying machinery that was also made here in the U.S.
Yes.
Uh, Things that nobody else had
Yeah.
that really made a difference, and I'm very proud of that. I think
Yes.
we blaze some trails, and now I work with people that are constantly blazing trails, and I admire the heck out of them because,
Yeah.
as you know, it's
Yes.
tough.
Yeah.
It is tough, but I'm a big believer in being a first mover and
Yep.
putting yourself out there and just leaning into automation and technology.
Yeah, amazing. And then it sounds like also, or maybe what I'm reading, and tell me if I'm wrong, is also the investment in good quality machines. Sounds like also sign of respect for the
Yeah.
team on the plant floor. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, they know, those folks know because they're out there and they
Yes.
know when you're not putting in something with quality.
Yeah.
They know that. And they also see it when, hey, you have made a big investment because it's made their
Yeah.
jobs more fulfilling. The
Yeah.
company does better. I mean, depending on what sort of, bonus arrangement you have,
Yeah.
it could help them with that. So, yeah, we as an industry as a whole are behind on that,
Yes.
but that was something we jumped into as a family business, and then
Yeah.
in my current life helping other companies.
Yep.
I press to go to the highest in automation and sophistication every single time. I
Yeah.
don't win a lot of those arguments, but I do press very hard for it.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. And you mentioned some things in culture that you saw not work. The jacket for, yeah, any examples there where you think it's a
Well,
myth?
yeah, well, I do think that if you think that just paying people more money is going
Yeah.
to make things better, it doesn't.
Yes.
And especially in today's world right
Yeah.
now. I mean, a lot of manufacturing companies are competing with Taco Bell and McDonald's,
Yep.
for the
Yeah.
same employees. I'm talking the floor people that really make it go.
Yes.
Uh, and they get free food working at Taco Bell and McDonald's,
Yeah.
and so I think that, I've talked to a lot of companies, well, we'll raise
Yeah.
our fee, but they don't do anything else to make it a great place to work.
Yes.
Uh, and that's the biggest thing. And that goes back to my whole culture thing. So I
Yeah.
do see people throwing money at problems. And
Mm.
it's funny because they'll throw the money at the people problems. They won't
Yeah.
throw the money at the equipment situations where they can improve. So
Yes.
that's what drives me the craziest. And that's
Yeah.
partly, again, the way we're laid out in the industry with half of the companies family owned, and you get that
Hmm.
famous term, that's the way we've always done it. Uh, and then you get the other half that are private equity, and all they care about, because that's their business model, is
Yeah.
turn and burn. Let's go. Let's go. And
Yes.
so with that, the priorities are a little out of whack. And smart companies figure it out. Other ones don't.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. Any stories from the industry that stick with you, whether it's about, I don't even know how one would transit. Yeah, I'll ask first and then I'll dig in on some of those areas.
I mean, I think that, well, it's kind of funny. I mean, this is a specific product
Yeah.
story that has really become something. It was probably about 10, 12 years ago. We were having a technical meeting,
Yeah.
and one of the real technical brains of our industry brought up in an entire committee, we need to be aware of glass that can protect birds, and it's
Hmm.
called bird-friendly glass.
Hmm.
And I literally laughed out loud. I'm like, are
Yeah.
you joking with us? I mean, never in my wildest dreams did I think that there was an issue with birds
Yeah.
flying in glass. Well, it turns out there's a significant issue with the
Yeah.
migratory paths and birds flying into glass and
Yeah.
dying. I mean,
Yeah.
millions of birds a year.
Yeah.
And so we as an industry, it took a while, but we as an
Yes.
industry took this up. And now bird-friendly glazing, bird-friendly glass is an incredibly hot and important product that
Fascinating.
throughout New York City, it's going up. Throughout
Yes.
Chicago, it's going up. You'll get Toronto. It's
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, Bigger places like Minnesota, the football stadium, they didn't put it in, and then all of a sudden they had a huge problem on their hand and had to do a
Yeah.
retro. So things like that, I'm amazed. I'm amazed that if you
Wow.
told me all those years ago, yeah, fast forward to
Yes.
2025, and there'd be multiple people making bird-friendly material, and it
Yeah.
would be probably the hottest product in your industry, I still would be laughing at you.
Yeah.
But
That
yeah,
is,
that's an amazing story for us that people just don't know. It's
yeah.
unbelievable.
Super interesting. And I love that kind of a niche too, where, it might be more than a niche soon, but how do you make it bird friendly? This is maybe a nerdy question, but that's so
No,
cool.
so the birds can see their reflection,
Yes.
and they can also see the reflection if there's greenery around, trees and
Yes.
so on. So they think that that's safe. So they're
Yes.
flying when they see the reflection of the trees, for instance.
Yes.
They're thinking, okay, I see it. I'm gonna go sit in that tree or go to that
Yes.
tree.
Yes.
Well, it's not there. And so they're
Yes.
banging into the glass. So now what we have to do is there's either UV coating that the
Hmm.
birds can see that humans really can't. So you can see it
Hmm.
under light. So the birds can see and know that they got to peel off. There's markings that go on the glass that
Wow.
are 2 inches apart. They're little markings, but again, they're enough. They're
Yes.
laser etch marking enough for the bird to see and recognize and say,
Yeah.
okay, I can't go this way. I got to peel off.
Yes.
And there's big testing where you put your glass in a chute and they send birds at it, and if the birds hit it, your material didn't do the job. If the
Yeah.
birds
Yeah.
off,
Gosh.
you're getting approved. And so
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's an amazing
Wow.
product, and it's great for our industry, and it's great for our universe too. We need the wildlife. It's very
Yeah.
important. And so we feel like we're doing something good there.
Yeah. That is so cool. I never would have thought of that.
Yeah.
Other stories, because you have such a breadth of experience with different types of companies, examples of small changes that you saw companies make that had a really outsized impact, whether they're on the family business or the private equity side.
Those that jumped into the product advancement and diversification,
Yeah.
things like decorative glass,
Huh.
were something that, was tiny. Again, it was a tiny segment 15, 20 years
Yeah.
ago. Now it's a huge segment. There are printers now that are just like your home printer where you're printing out, your boarding pass or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, you run glass through and it prints directly onto the glass.
Wow.
Same sort of concept. And that's being used for decoration. It also
Yes.
obviously is being used for bird friendly, but you look at some of the projects out there and they're
Yeah.
spectacular. They make everything look better. And it's
Yeah.
allowed the glass industry to raise its profile a little bit because we do take a lot of uh, trouble from other folks because the glass industry, there's a lot of older buildings out there where
Yes.
the glass is old, it's low performing, the
Yep.
heat comes right in, everybody's
Yes.
sweating, they're working the HVAC overtime. That's old stuff. The new
Yes.
stuff, we have the good stuff, but we're still kind of haunted by things that came out in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Dallas, Texas, so many buildings in downtown Dallas are old. They're
Yep.
from the 80s.
Yes.
For me and you, the 80s doesn't seem very old. I mean, I'm a lot
Yeah.
older than you are. The 80s doesn't seem very old,
Yeah.
but it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Uh, and so in Dallas, those buildings need retrofitted. They need
Mhm.
replaced. The glass needs replaced. So
Yeah.
those diversified and got into different things are the ones that are coming out ahead. And those were small initial changes,
Yeah.
dipping their toes in the water and then going from there. I think diversification is the biggest key in any business. You
Yes.
stuck on one sort of process
Yeah.
and you run into a situation like we have right now with the tariffs and the
Yeah.
potential recessions, that's a troubled area. You have
Yeah.
to have more to offer.
Super interesting. And I love the point about diversification because that's relevant to any structured business too.
Yeah.
Within the glass industry, to what extent can a company who wants to diversify use their existing equipment in new ways versus need to buy new equipment?
I mean, I would say it's probably 75% of the things that they could get into are with existing equipment.
Huh, cool.
There's not, there are certain products that you would have to make a CapEx expenditure
Yes.
for. But
Yes.
really, if you have the basics,
Yeah.
that's where the easiness of the diversification
Yeah.
comes in. You can move into different product levels.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, there are people that, we have laminated glass. Laminated glass
Hmm.
is like what you have in your windshield.
Yep.
So it's two pieces of glass with a piece of plastic in between.
Yeah.
Uh, there's a lot of companies that have that, and they would make that really for basic protective materials like for doors and
Yep.
safety areas. Well, now within the last few years, because of the safety issues in our world with
Hmm.
protests and school shootings and so on,
Yeah.
now with that same equipment, you can upgrade it internally, use
Huh.
different makeups. To now you're into the bullet resistant area, you're into the
Yeah.
forced entry area, you're
Yeah.
into a whole new world of materials,
Yeah.
and even bird friendly,
Yes.
because you can get an inner layer with
Yep.
the bird friendly markings on it or the UV on it, and it
Yeah.
runs through that same exact laminated process. So we do have a lot of opportunity for
Yeah.
people to diversify without
Yeah.
having to make those big CapEx expenditures.
That is super interesting. So you're, I mean, especially in today's environment, it sounds like if you're a, glass company, especially in the US, and you want to be able to meet local demand
Yeah.
from folks who may be looking not to, outsource because of the tariffs, even if the demand isn't for what you make today, there might be really smart opportunities to look at where that could be sold from your existing equipment today.
Yeah, and we're fortunate from part of the whole tariff
Yeah.
adventure is because most of everything we use is produced the flat glass, the float
Yep.
glass is produced in America.
Yes.
Glass doesn't ship well from other
Yes. Good
places.
point. Yes.
So that's another reason why it stays really
Yeah.
heavy on the domestic side.
Yes.
Obviously, installing the glass,
Yep.
fabricating glass, putting in a shower door. Again, those are all things that are relatively tariff proof.
Yes.
So it's a strong industry from that standpoint.
Yeah.
But I'm a big believer in diversification. Even when you're an installer,
Yep.
who's at the different part of the supply chain, there's other things they can get into with the same skill set.
Yeah.
And an example of that is if you put in shower doors nice glass shower doors, like I'm sure you probably have in your home, really nice, heavy looking material.
Hmm.
And now there are people that want wine closets with glass, and it's the
Yeah.
same process. It's the
Yeah.
same look, it's the same process. It could be
Yeah.
designed a little different, but same hardware. And
Yes.
all of a sudden, you're in a whole new business
Yeah.
without changing.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it
And
is. I
maybe,
love it.
yeah, a couple, just this industry is super interesting. So I'll ask a couple more industry questions and then we'll go
Yeah.
to the last kind of last piece. Um, what are you seeing? The family dynamics, the private equity dynamics? What are the things you're watching or observing in the industry that are most interesting for you right now?
Both of those. I mean,
Yeah.
I really think that I'm a believer that I think with so much consolidation, I feel like we're going to have a decoupling.
Yeah.
I think that we've consolidated, and there's mega companies that are owned by private equity that I think they're getting too big
Yeah.
to really do it right. And I have a feeling that they're going to start breaking up, and we're going to have more independent owners, maybe different family business owners. So
Yeah.
I kind of see that coming as something coming down the pike.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest thing,
Yeah.
just because there is such a thing as too big to fail,
Yes.
and I do think that we are starting to look at that a little
Yeah.
close with some of these companies that are just too big, too
Yeah.
big.
What have you seen be the optimal size? Like if you were thinking about what the right size for a glass company is.
I mean, I think, to me, there's a handful of really successful organizations that
Yeah.
have, two, three, four locations.
Yes. Yes.
They have buildings that are, anywhere from 80 to 125,000 square feet, maybe bigger,
Hmm.
150,000 square feet. But they have a sweet spot. They know what they're doing. They
Yep.
have a model, and they're smart enough to only be able to replicate it in two or three places, maybe
Yeah.
four.
Yeah.
When you start to go further than that, it's almost like making a photocopy of a photocopy. I don't know if you've seen
Yes.
that in your career, but in our world, when you start to add more and more facilities, more and more branches, the talent gets watered down,
Yep.
the overall product gets watered down. It just becomes more difficult. So
Yeah.
we're lucky. We have some really smart business people, and again, there are
Mhm.
some private equity that get it, but most of them are dealing with the big mega
Yes.
size ones. But the smaller ones are smart enough to say, okay, I got three
Mhm.
locations. I'm covering a nice geographic area. Everybody's working together. We've
Yep.
got, fail safes involved, redundancy. Those are the ones that are get it. And those, again, it's blocking and tackling.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Just know your business, know your culture, know your process,
Yep.
and live it.
Yes.
And I think that's what the successful people in our industry are doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Super interesting. And especially interesting because, like you said, glass doesn't ship well. So having those companies be dispersed and at a reasonable size.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because for instance, there's a group that has a facility in Tulsa, Oklahoma,
Yeah.
Dallas, Texas, Houston, Texas.
Yep.
It might seem kind of close,
Yeah.
for other organizations, but again, the way glass ships and the territories that are covered, it's an optimal setup. They can
Yeah.
get everywhere
Yeah.
in those areas, those regions they want, and they
Yeah.
also can back up if the Houston plant has a failure, the Dallas plant can fill
Yeah.
in. I mean, so
Yeah.
it's really smart redundancy plays.
Yeah. Oh, super interesting. Okay. Well, going to the last section here. You are so tied into this industry as well as just learning, like you said, being a sponge. Any books, podcasts, things that you love or follow or would recommend?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big, I guess the term is inside baseball sort of guy. I
Hmm.
love the stories of the way things have gone down in companies. Like if
Yes.
there's a title that says the rise and fail of X, company, I'm reading it. I'm listening to
Yeah.
it. I love those stories.
Yes.
Those are absolute must reads or must
Yeah.
watches or listens. And so, right now everything is kind of podcast, especially with
Hmm.
timing.
Yes.
When I was younger, I could read a lot. Now I'm older. I start to read. I fall asleep. It's really upsetting. So I do a lot more on the podcast.
Yes.
And I love from Wondery, there's the business movers and there's business wars.
Cool.
They're two different business podcasts from Wondery.
Yeah.
And the business movers are, okay, here's what happened with Coca-Cola and when
Yeah.
they rolled out New Coke. And
Yes.
it's 4 episodes, a half an hour each, and they go deep.
Wow.
And it's great to see, okay, what did they do? Why did they do that? How do I make sure I don't do that?
Yes.
And so, anybody that you can think of between those two podcast series, it covers, Southwest Airlines, Disney, Apple, Tesla. I mean, the Elon stuff alone from Tesla and SpaceX, those are mind-blowing listens because he was
Yes.
broke 10 times,
Yes.
before he finally, he was borrowing money from anybody he could find. And now he's
Yeah.
what, the richest guy in the world. I mean, it's just crazy. But those are must. From
Yeah.
Wondering, Business Wars and Business Movers.
I love it. Oh, great. Um, who in the industry do you think should be getting more attention? What should people be paying attention to that they aren't as much?
Really, it's the technical and advocacy side. The
Yep.
NGA, National Glass Association, has a very strong advocacy part, and it's led by a woman named Ermela Sowell.
Cool.
Her family came over from French Guiana.
Wow.
She grew up a little bit there before coming over to the States. Brilliant, brilliant woman who is
Yeah.
went to Texas Tech, has buried herself in this industry from an advocacy and a technical standpoint, and
Wow.
it's become really our face of the
Yes.
industry. So in 2023, when we had the International Year of Glass, she got to go to the United Nations and sit up on a panel at the United
Wow.
Nations. And she said, a little girl from Uganda, from
Yeah.
Guyana sitting
Yeah.
at the it wasn't even impossible to dream that.
Yeah.
She's done it and continues to do it. And somebody like that is so crucial to our world. She's the one that's, working on the standards to protect kids in schools,
Yep.
working on the standards for better energy performance in our windows and our doors. You name it when it comes to the advocacy and technical of our industry, it's led by her and her team. So I give her
Wow.
full credit. I think she's the single most important person in our industry.
That is awesome. I can't wait to look her up and learn
Yeah.
more.
She's a fascinating person, really, really talented, really, really
Yeah.
talented. Works hard too, travels
Yeah.
every week, has two kids, and somehow, juggles all that. Fantastic person, fantastic.
Amazing. Love it. Well, second to last question.
Yes.
If constraints completely disappeared, you had a magic wand in hand, what change would you make for the glass industry?
Everybody goes automated, completely
Uh-huh.
automated.
Uh-huh.
Uh, that's to me, that's where we're missing out. We
Yeah.
still don't have enough automation. We still
Yep.
are too human capital dependent.
Yes.
And if I could say, okay, yeah, everything's off, you don't have to worry about anything, that's what I would want.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big goal
Yep.
that someday we're going to get that way. And there's going to be a case study. In a way, we have a facility that's going to open up in Boston in February that's pretty
Mm.
much all automated.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
know a lot of people are going to be watching that to
Yes.
see how that all goes, being kind of again an old-fashioned sort of industry. If it goes off as well as I expect it to,
Yes.
maybe that keeps people going. That's the hope. But yeah, if I had the powers, everybody would be having robots and automation everywhere, and there'd be guide wheel everywhere, and life would be good.
And when you say automation, and
Yeah.
robots definitely make sense, are you thinking like everyone would be lights out, or where would the humans still be, if anywhere?
Humans would be controlling. I mean, you see everything
Yes.
being moved on carts that are being
Yes.
controlled by somebody with a joystick,
Yeah.
or they're going on specifically marked routes. You're
Hmm.
still going to need engineers. You're
Yeah.
still going to need people that understand.
Yes.
these products and over, keep an eye on them,
Yeah.
obviously. So we don't lose the people factor. We just kind of
Yes.
maneuvered a little bit, but we
Yes.
also, get less dependent on needing 10 people when you may only need one.
Yeah.
Uh, and maybe those other nine can work somewhere within your organization, or
Yes.
you can, who knows, expand and so on with you if you have good people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think that we got to, you know, there's a lot of handling of glass right now. It's a dangerous
Yes.
product. We didn't even talk
Yes.
about that. And so you take some of those things out of
Yeah.
play when you go to robots, automation, movers,
Yes.
things like that. That you don't have a person on a forklift trying to move a
Yeah.
crate from A to B.
Yeah.
It's an automated scenario where this cart is moving it and knows its route, picks it
Yeah.
up, takes it where it has to be, loads it on a truck, and we go.
Yeah. Interesting. So it's the humans doing the mental work and the supervisory and
Yes.
the kind of being in charge, but having that scope of what they can be in charge of be bigger, and then have the machines doing more of the physical dangerous stuff.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because I mean, we talked a little bit about the shower doors.
Yeah.
They're heavy.
Yes.
And you have people that are taking them, they're putting on a machine to polish the edges to make them look
Yeah.
good, taking off the machine, putting it somewhere else, putting
Yes.
it on a rack, taking it from here to there. It's a lot of wear and tear.
Yeah.
And I'd
Yeah.
like to see that go away with more
Yeah.
more automation. I'm a big believer again on safety and people being
Yes.
healthy, and we need to get better at that. And I think automation answers that.
Love it. Well, last question is, what didn't I ask? What else would you like to add, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You covered a lot there. So no, I mean, I think I'm just honored to kind of be on here with you, and I like watching what you've been able to do, and following you and your folks, and what you do. And I love just talking about the glass industry. I just
Yes.
think that it's a great place. It's an underrated place.
Yep.
I hope we can move quicker on certain things, like we're saying.
Yes.
But it's my life. I live for it. I love it, and it's everywhere. Anybody who's listening to this or watching this, if you look out your window, you see a
Yeah.
lot of glass. If you live
Yes.
in a city like New York, I mean, there's a lot of glass everywhere.
Yes.
And when you start to notice it, you realize we're a massive industry, and there is nothing like glass. Plastic doesn't
Yep.
cut it.
Yep.
I mean, it's there's nothing like glass.
Yeah. Oh, incredible. Max, thank you. Such a great conversation. And you've got me looking around for all the glass. So fun.
Awesome. Well, I'm honored. I wish you the best of luck. Keep up the great work that you and your folks are doing, and good things ahead for everybody. Big time.
Oh, well, thank you.
Well,
A big thank you to Max for joining us and for such a thoughtful look on how the glass industry is evolving. I especially love the practical advice around diversification, relevant in other industries as well. If this conversation was useful, share it with a colleague and follow the Factory Ops Exchange for more perspectives from leaders shaping the future of manufacturing. Thanks for listening.